Hey guys, it's Mathel here once again, and I've gone into making a Divine Ire character, this time around self-cast. I have made quite a few Divine Ire characters, 3 I think at this point, and the very first one was self-cast and it was just built off of big hit damage, but it was a start of the league character and it didn't really get to explore its true overpowered state of mind in this skill. So I did use a totem build in the future, that was insane. I used a ignite version in the future, also insane. And this is the first time I'm coming back to just regular self-cast and big hits. And it is an occultist version, fully cold converted. So you'll be able to see lots of big freezes, lots of big shatters in this video and this build, and overall pretty good utility for curses and just rather reliable crit and area thanks to the power charges as well. Overall, I think Occultist offers a lot towards the caster playstyle that people don't really seem to jump onto for whatever reason, since I have made Occultist many casters in the past, so definitely look into that. If you haven't ever touched an Occultist before, it's pretty worth doing. It's not going to be the fastest thing in the world compared to maybe some other ascendancies, but it definitely has a lot of utility, and you kind of bend it to your own will for what you need, since there's lots of curses, there's good sort of hexproof thing, and power charges if you need them, or more of a freeze or more of a poison type thing down the other ascendancy routes as well. In any case, this is self-cast Divine Ire, 96% cold converted thanks to 2 Core Brotherhoods, and it is with the quality catalysts that promote elemental damage, so you can almost 100% convert your lightning to cold. We then got a decent amount of chaos damage as well, and the one-shots so far are pretty fucking chunky. And as well as that, we do freeze just about everything out there. Every metamorph I've come across so far has gotten reliably frozen. Every boss I've faced, pretty reliably frozen. So there's a big defensive aspect to having that, and so far metamorphs have been just an absolute joke. Though I haven't taken the character too far yet, you'll see the character get to like tier 9 maps or so like that in this video. It definitely looks like it's going to scale all the way into the end game pretty comfortably, and you can also build it somewhat versatile. If you really want, you could do a CI or a low life. This version here is mind over matter with Eldritch Battery, so I do have 4,500 life or so, but as well as that, 2,000 energy shield that gets sort of absorbed with some hits as well. And most maps I've been running, you can see, are like double beyond and sextanted and all kinds of crazy shit, because it's not the fastest character out there, but once you're established with your Orbis Storms that gives curses, with your Stormbrand that gives curse, then you're just like an unstoppable killing machine. Everything that spawns gonna get frozen, everything that gets touched gonna get one shot or just frozen as well. So you can see that it is pretty efficient once it gets down to it. It doesn't look that fast perhaps, but it's been leveling just about as fast as any of my fastest characters, since it one-shots metamorphs, then moves on, since it doesn't really die, and since it one-shots bosses as well. So it ends up being a pretty smooth and fun playstyle, and something that is a lot faster than it looks, and doesn't at all feel slow. So if you don't really like the look of it, maybe, you know, give it a chance as far as the playstyle before you write it completely off. So you got like a whole bunch of these metamorphs. You typically get a couple of shots in on them and they will die. Likewise, this one breach boss I did, but it's still in its infancy, and once we fully figure out the crit multi and the damage and everything, I think just about everything's going to keep getting frozen and one-shot, hopefully right up until the end game, all the way through to tier 16. And the big reason I really wanted to do Occultist recently is because of the metamorphs, since just about every fucking metamorph you spawn is going to have hexproof on it, but Occultist doesn't give a shit about that, and we put all 3 of our curses on there, and then you can actually still have some pretty good effectiveness with your damage and your utility against a metamorph, as opposed to just hitting like a wet noodle. So I want to go into how I built the character so far. So here is the character currently at level 86 called Divine Ire. Yep, and it's an occultist, and there's quite a lot of funky interactions going on that I just now kind of noticed. The fact is we do have a lot of unique jewels that do certain things. Nothing here is incredibly expensive, but you know, put it all together and you got yourself a fairly well-oiled, finely tuned machine. So we're starting with a militant faith that has the Dominus converted thing, so it gives you inner conviction as your keystone, so you gain power charge instead of frenzy. Doesn't really matter, but it's 3% more spell damage per power charge, and since we're building around power charges, we do have 7 of them, it's another 21% more damage. You then have 1 Arcane Surge Watcher's Eye here for your consecrated ground with zealotry, since we are using EB Mind Over Matter with Eldritch Battery node from your helm. You don't get to proc Arcane Surge ever because you don't consume mana. So this gives you your Arcane Surge for that, and then we put in a new Thread of Hope jewel in the medium ring over here for the Templar area to pick up 1, 2, 3, and probably number 4 as well. For just free, well, not free, but easier access passives. And that seems to be one of the best things we can do for the build at the moment. So in the end, 3 unique jewels and then just 1 whatever jewel with a bit of crit multi. But the build is based around Divine Ire, which is right here. If you've never seen it before, you have to charge up 20 stacks, channeled wise, and then you can unleash that 20 stacks in the form of a beam. You of course don't have to charge up to 20 stacks, that's just going to be the biggest damage you can possibly pull off. So quite often you are charging up a lot less and just blasting things for less than infinity damage. Attached to that, we then have Fizz to Lightning, so that we convert the rest of our physical into lightning. You then have Hypothermia, Infused Channeling, Faster Casting just to get the stacks up faster, and Power Charge on crit, just because don't really have anything else too good to put there just yet. So it's not the final 6 link, probably not anyway, but that's currently what it's at, and we're using a chest that I crafted with Aetheric Fossils. Nothing terribly special going on except for the Arcane Surge and the spell crit. I would have settled for plenty of things. Could have had a more defensive chest, could have had a +1 on the chest, but the idea is to get a shaped regalia or some sort of energy shield type chest, hit it with Aetheric Fossils until you get a nice enough result, and it ends up being kind of a little hybrid chest for energy shield, life, bit of spell crit, and Arcane Surge, which will be 10% more damage while Arcane Surge is up, since it's technically a very small 7 link. You then have your 2 Call of the Brotherhoods, 20 qualityed up for 48% lightning converted to cold. Combine both of those, that's 96%. So you can see we've got almost entirely cold damage here. So when we unleash our big beam, it does hit extremely hard and freeze extremely hard for pure cold. And aside from that, we're using Devouring Diadem just to fit in some more mana reservation, which is currently Zealotry, Hatred, and Herald of Ice. And you can use an Enlightened Gem and maybe another passive on the tree or 2, like around here, to fit in Wrath instead, and I might do that, but for now I'm just enjoying what Herald of Ice is providing for the build. But Wrath in the end will be a much bigger damage increase, and then just grabbed an amulet that has some extra physical as lightning, which is now a Crusader mod. Bought this one and then annulled maybe, or just bought, I think I just bought it, and then made my own wand with physical as lightning. Got a bit lucky on this one, using alt regals, so alterationed up to start with. Or was it chaos spam? Alt regaling, I think. Started out with the spell damage, the cast speed, and then regaled the fizz as lightning, and then slammed it a few times and crafted double damage while focus. So yeah, plenty of stuff can be done with a character like this to min-max, and likewise my shield, I tried to go for 2 min frenzy because we can't generate frenzies, but you can start out with minimum frenzies in this build, and this shield isn't exactly what I'm looking for, so I'll probably keep trying to craft shields because we can get a spare suffix for another double damage focus, and we can get +1, we can get more life, we can get cast speed. There's a lot that can go into Redeemer type shields nowadays, that can be pretty damn exciting. This one for now is pretty good, and it will do for now, but I do want something a bit better. Likewise, we've got a focus cast enchant over here just for more cast speed, and then increased damage with hits against chilled enemies, which is a temple modifier. Boots, just straight up basic for life resists, and currently just life reduced flask charge belt, but I do plan to upgrade that one. So that's currently what's going on with the build. Our focus button does give us quite a bit of utility. Our Orbis Storms gives us a curse on hit. So we go Orbis Storms, curse on hit, frostbite, and Assassin's Mark. And the playstyle is pretty much dropping an Orbis Storms everywhere and then firing up a bigger laser if you need it. And as well as that, we do have a curse on hit for Stormbrand, which is Stormbrand, elemental weakness, curse on hit, onslaught. And that is mostly just used for bigger single target stuff. So for your metamorphs, your bosses, hit them with a Stormbrand, and then you will also LE weakness things too. So there's quite a lot of lightning stuff going on here, and it all kind of comes together to do a shitload of damage and utility. So it's a little bit clunky at times if you want to try and put everything down, but you typically don't. You're just trying to Orbis Storms, laser shit, and move on. You then have Frostbomb, Flame Dash. Frostbomb we're just putting on before bosses to get cold exposure, and then a Summon Stone Golem over here. I will still have a spare 3-link at the moment to maybe figure out for something. It might be a shield charge, it might be a cast when damage taken Desecrate. I'll play around with things today as well. And then for flasks, the main one here is Taste of Hate. You want a Diamond Flask, which currently is kind of crappy. A Silver Flask, but I might replace that with an Atziri's Flask instead, since an Atziri Flask will be huge damage for our build, but mapping with an Atziri Flask doesn't feel terribly great with this sort of setup, because all I've got right now is just a Flame Dash, so I run around with Quicksilver and Silver, but it could be a little more fluid. That's about it though for now. I think that's all I can really say about the build. It's pretty versatile. You can do lots of different things for your gearing. You can do lots of different things in the passive tree. There are lots of passives we actually want on the build, so I'm still trying to figure out the best way to get everything I want, but so far this is what I've got. It doesn't have to be an occultist, can be assassin, trickster, elementalist, inquisitor. Lots of different things can be divine ire, and divine ire just for pure self-cast single target. It's looking pretty good, but it's just good news that you can now convert a lot of your damage into cold and then not really feel like you're wasting that last little bit of lightning. For now guys, hope you enjoyed the build video. Thank you very much for watching, and see you next time.